right, ladies and gentlemen, it does appear that Hoyoverse and Genshin Impact have unfortunately messed up again. And this time, it's about one of their recent combat events called Realm of Tempered Valor, and why it was such a major issue for so many players across the community. I did actually hear that there was one particular CC, their name might be like Fob Master or like Feet Master or something like that, who with their roster of C6 characters wasn't able to get to the highest floor and clear all of the content, even with, you know, having invested tens of thousands of dollars into their units. This video is by Sorosness, and it's People Are Right to Be Upset, an analysis of Realm of Tempered Valor. She's made a lot of critique videos for Genshin in the past. This one is absolutely popping the fuck off with almost 60k views, and so she has to be spitting here. So let's get right on into it and see what it is all about.
I really dislike the Realm of Tempered Valor, and many other people did too. Normally, I'm all for fighting events. I actually enjoy Genshin's combat, and these are often the highlight of the patch for me.
True, I do believe that Genshin's combat events are probably the best thing that they have to offer, because let's think about the baseline game. You're fighting things, you're doing your elemental reactions, you're, you know, clearing content. And that's what you do for about 95% of the game. It does appear to me that combat events in Genshin, specifically higher difficulty ones, are typically always few and far between. When, you know, considering what you do for most of the game's lifespan and you know, playtime, it's a little bit weird that they mostly have mini games instead. So there are a lot of people that really look forward to these combat events when they show up. And to hear that this one wasn't well received, that can be a bit of a miss across the entire player base, knowing that they get them very sparingly.
Especially when there isn't a new region or a new Archon quest. While I'm not a whale, and I have zero interest in hyper-investing into powerful characters or even following the meta at all, I've completed all the content for years, including the Abyss, and even had fun getting platinum medals on most combat events in the past. So why is this event the first one which really got my hackles up, and why do others agree? Did Hoyo do something which actually crossed the line? Or are the people who disliked it just proving Hoyo right that new endgame content would make players feel anxious?
And it's such a pain that that's the excuse, or that's the reasoning that players have received for so long for why there isn't like an expansion to the existing endgame, and then the only expansion that they had with Imaginarium Theater feels more like a chore than something engaging. That whole idea of anxiety. And it would be hilarious if the devs for this game end up making the event, the combat event, which is supposed to be like fun, accessible to everybody, right? You know, doesn't require any prerequisites to get into. If that one is actually the thing that's causing the most anxiety across the player base. It's like the devs, they say one thing and they do the entire opposite all the time.
The event itself was pretty straightforward. It had 5 towers, each with 25 challenges of ever-increasing difficulty that you fight in a row. There were some nuances to the way it all fit together, which make this event unique, which we'll explore a little later, but the general setup was nothing unusual. Just like past events, there were a series of rewards you unlock as you progress through the challenge. In this case, bronze for floor 2, silver for floor 9, gold for 15, and platinum for 20. Prima gems were given out at the easiest 2 medals, while the harder medals were mostly for bragging rights.
Okay, so I would say from a rewards perspective, that doesn't seem too bad. I assume that you don't need particularly much to get to floor 9, which is when the Primo Gem rewards end. But the fact of the matter when it comes to combat content or just content like this in general, you want to be able to clear everything. And if you're in a situation where you're not able to, you know, get to all of these rewards with your fully built invested account that you feel like you've been grinding a lot, that you've been getting great artifacts for, that you've been like leveling up all the talents on the units for, and you're still not able to clear, that just makes it feel like you're doing something wrong or the devs are doing something wrong. And if the teams that you were using have been clearing all of the prior endgame content and all of the prior events, it kind of just leads you into thinking the devs are the ones that are actually doing something wrong, if the teams that you use that couldn't clear this are able to clear everything else.
Bragging rights. But this time, there was an extra reward, a name card. A cute name card.
Is this why people are mad? Is this why people are upset? They couldn't get this dinosaur Saurian name card that nobody really cares about? Is this like the badge of honor for whales? Like, if you have this, then you're kind of like known as one of Hoyo's biggest supporters. Somebody that basically owns stock in the company with how much you spent. Maybe this is the symbol. Because from what I'm hearing, if Fob with his 17 C6 characters is not able to clear, then truly you need to be absolutely exceptional. Like, you need to be an absolutely exceptional spender to be able to achieve this. Big respect.
This name card was unlocked if you defeated a total of 100 floors across all 5 towers, or in other words, you had to get platinum medals. I have a wider perspective on this than most people because I completed the event on 3 accounts: my main, my free-to-play alt account, and my best friend's account. Each one has a very different level of investment, so I got first-hand experience of how different the event can feel, and sadly, I only got the name card on 2 of the 3 accounts.
Is she a bit of a freak? Wait, is she actually like a bit of a freak, or is she playing on like the biggest whales? And is she just better than Fob then? She got the name card on 2 out of 3 accounts, and then Fob is not able to get it with his 17 C6 characters. Is she just better? Maybe there needs to be like a Genshin competition. Like a Genshin tournament. And if Fob is getting his ass wiped with the most expensive roster in gacha gaming, and then she's just casually doing it on 2 out of 3 accounts that she's just logging onto for fun, boy oh boy.
Across those playthroughs, I had several problems with it. Some were caused by the structure of the challenge and the restrictions involved. Some were caused by the characters I didn't have available and how much of the event was tailored to those characters. And even ignoring those, there are some general principles about how they should handle the rewards themselves which I feel they violated here. My first playthrough was on my main account. I'd describe its level of investment as a small dolphin, but with a very strong preference towards horizontal
Small dolphin. I'm gonna be honest. I'm struggling to see which character she doesn't have. It looks like she has every limited 5-star in the game. Maybe she doesn't have every single weapon, but it kind of looks like she has every single one. Varisa, yeah, I don't think she's released yet, buddy boy.
investment into as many characters as possible, and a dislike for vertical investment into already powerful characters. I have a few 5 stars with 1 or 2 constellations, and many signature weapons, but I only farm their artifacts enough to make them feel comfortable when clearing the abyss. Once I can get to 36 stars with them on the team, I move on to the next character.
Those aren't like ball-busting crazy builds, right? Like 75.9, 201.1 isn't insane. Okay, I can see what she's talking about over here. This doesn't look like a crazy build to me.
Many meta heads would cringe to see my Shangling or Xingqiu, for example. For me, the fun part of Genshin's combat is experimenting with unusual combinations and unique teams. For that to remain entertaining, the last thing I need is one character who can nuke everything into oblivion. I am the person who the Imaginarium Theatre is designed for. I have 36.
If somebody that likes the Imaginarium Theater is talking shit about the game, you probably have to listen to them. Because if they like the Imaginarium Theater, which is like, it feels like you're doing like actual work. It feels like you're working an office job instead of playing the game. If she likes the Imaginarium Theater and then dislikes something in the game, holy fuck, you probably, the devs probably did not cook, because I assume that her bar for like what is acceptable and what is satisfying in the game is set so low that she even likes IR. And if this event wasn't enough to like meet her criteria, they must have fucked something up real bad. Like, really, really bad.
Start the abyss every single time for years. Sometimes it's a bit of a puzzle to find the right team, but even at its worst, it's always been achievable. In contrast, this event was painful. At first, I just tried with teams tailored to the buffs on each tower, using my most powerful characters wherever possible. Note that I skipped both Mavuika and Sidlali, and I barely
Oh, go fuck yourself.
managed to scrape my way to floor 18 or 19. I spent maybe the next hour figuring out the nuances of the event and trying to get further. The key restriction is that you need to clear each floor in less than 30 seconds for it to count as a pass, and the enemies have tons of HP once you get up to around floor 18. This is very different to the usual combat content, and it heavily favors characters who can do a lot of front-loaded damage.
Wait. Aren't some rotations in Genshin longer than 30 seconds? Aren't there like team rotations that are like 20, 26, 27 29 seconds. And so the content is literally tailored or designed in a way where like some of your teams actually don't even get through the full rotation before the round ends. Yeah, these devs weren't playing the game.
A second, very unusual quirk is that there's a long delay after finishing one floor before the next starts. This is a little more nuanced and has some positives and some negatives. It can be a big annoyance if your teams are burst focused and their rotations don't line up with the event. I had to restart several attempts because the enemies died partway through my rotation, leaving me with no way to recharge my character's energy before the new round starts, which made my character's cooldowns become badly out of sync with the event's rhythm.
Yeah, maybe if your Farina didn't have 140 ER, dummy. Yeah, maybe if she had a little bit more ER, bucko, you wouldn't be running into these issues. It's not really, I mean, I would assume that that energy should refresh between each clear, but I don't think it's actually a problem on her end.
On the other hand, you can take advantage of it to reduce your clear time since it allows you to use your support skills and bursts without their animations eating into the 30-second timer. One detail that I did like...
Imagine making 30-second time-gated content in a game where using your elemental burst, your ultimate, has a cast animation time and doesn't freeze time. Imagine using his burst during this event. Imagine using his burst. Oh my, he's just like, he like stares at himself for like 5 seconds. And then like This dude's burst animation is like 4 seconds, and all it does is apply hydro and deal no damage. It just applies hydro, deals like no damage, and like I guess he's casting it for about like 10%, probably about 10% of your entire like rotation time. It's just him casting his liberation. I don't even understand why they designed a character in such a way. I'm pretty sure he's absolutely fucking unplayable in this event. Awesome.
A lot was that when you beat a floor much faster than the 30-second maximum, you skip one or more of the following floors. The faster the clear, the more floors you skip. This introduces a layer of strategy which lets you pick your battles. For example, let's say you can beat floor 15 so fast that it takes you straight to floor 19. If you find yourself struggling against floor 19, you can take it a little slow on that earlier floor to make sure you go to floor 18 instead.
They have a system that allows you to skip the floors if you clear fast enough, and there are going to be like some floors where your team is actually better against like the later That just sounds overly convoluted. I'm not gonna lie, that just kind of sounds overly convoluted and almost like too metagamey for the game. Where it's like, all right, well, I'm gonna intentionally sandbag this clear so that I can skip ahead 5 floors on this stage rather than the prior one. And that means I'll be able to skip the 1 floor that my team isn't intentionally designed for. That to me sounds far more anxiety-inducing than anything that they've put in the game so far.
Try to beat that floor fast. Get a little slow on that earlier floor to make sure you go to floor 18 instead, and try to beat that floor fast enough to skip floor 19 entirely. However, even after figuring out all the details, my teams were not good enough to get platinum until I gave in and reverted to using my most powerful Nutland units or Arlecchino, cooked some buff-granting food and elemental potions to increase their damage output, and grinded over and over until I managed to position the enemies just right so I could actually clear in time.
Sounds like a lot of work. Sounds like almost too much work. Let's go through the laundry list of things that was needed. First, you needed the Natland characters. If you don't have them, I guess go fuck yourself. Or you needed Arlecchino. If you don't have her, you can also go fuck yourself. Because but this is a Mavuika event, so Arlecchino works too. You also had to like buy food and use it, which is like, honestly, I forgot Genshin food gave buffs. I'm gonna be I forgot Genshin food even gave buffs because you can't even use food in any of the other end games. And so it's like, this is like the one event where you like feel like you need food to clear. Maybe this is like a beta test for the new endgame, or maybe this was just like the devs having no idea how to balance the event. Holy moly. Well, I guess she was really scraping the bottom of the barrel looking for every resource she possibly could in the game, so I'm glad she found the solution. But she's also saying the event sucks.
Just right so I could actually clear in time. This all felt pretty disappointing to me. I liked the strategic elements, and for a little while it felt like an interesting challenge to adjust my rotations to make the most of the downtime between floors. But even after really getting to grips with it, none of that was enough. In the end, all that strategizing was for nothing, because it all just boiled down to a DPS check with such a high bar far that you either need meta characters or hyper-invested builds. It's important to note that this has happened before in past combat events, for example, the one with ludicrously powerful boss enemies. Those are generally the rare events which I'm happy to enjoy completing most of the content and skip the platinum medals since I don't find it fun to go that far. The difference this time was that I needed that gorgeous baby potato name card, but more on that later. My second playthrough was a
It's all because of the name card.
week or so later on my free-to-play alt account. I created this account a couple of years after I started playing Genshin so that I could get a better feel for how the early game felt to new players and give better advice to them. I've kept it up ever since it's been very useful to give me a different perspective on the game. I describe it as a dedicated casual account. I play most days, complete most of the content, and pull for the most valuable characters. All the limited 5 stars on this account are C0, they all have their free-to-play weapons, and I spend even less time farming artifacts on there than on my main. Despite that, even on this account, I've gone towards horizontal investment with a lot of characters built to an acceptable level instead of vertical investment. As a result, while it has achieved 36 stars a few times, it's not really geared up to beat the Abyss consistently. Most of the time I only bother making one attempt and end up getting somewhere between 30 and 33
So the account sucks.
stars. At first, I decided to do the usual on this account, just low effort run to collect the important rewards. I didn't even bother with food buffs, but still cleared 78 floors, so fairly comfortable gold medals in each tower. But then, I decided to see how close I could get to the name card. I had seen some people talk through the strategies that had worked for them, explaining exactly how they managed to unlock the name card even on free-to-play accounts, some even exclusively using 4-star characters. Since their builds looked a bit over the top, I was curious to see how effective their strategies were for a more normal account. Unfortunately, since the characters on this account have a more casual level of investment, after an hour or so of trying to really nail the rotations, I basically hit a brick wall with 90 floors cleared. There was no way to get even close to the level of DPS needed to make use of the optimal strategies. And unfortunately, this account also lacks the meta DPS characters who might have made a difference. As sad as it was to miss out on the name card, this is generally what I'd have expected from this account, since the entire point of having it is to see things from a more casual perspective. I'm okay with that. But this turned out to be a really interesting contrast to the experience with my friend's account.
I do think that, I mean, it's a name card, right? It's just like a little bit of like a badge of honor, kind of like showing that you're able to fully clear it. And I can understand why from the perspective of the devs, like, you know, they can make it really hard to achieve. But it's also just like the name card is also the part of the event that the most casual players will want the most, right? Casuals are really like into like collecting like the funny, like cute little things that are in the game. And not giving them access to the most casual thing of all, a name card, unless you're like one of the most giga sweaty players. I'm gonna be real here. I don't feel like the giga sweaty players give a fuck about the name card. They just care about clearing all the content. And the ones that care about it the most, the casuals, are also the ones that are not going to be able to get it. I get both sides, but it's also like the devs were just kind of not being realistic here about who even wants these rewards in the fucking first place. Because I guarantee you, the reason why people are this pissed off is because it's the casuals that wanted the name card, but are 100% not able to actually get it.
A day or so before the event was due to end, my best friend asked me if I'd have the time to give it a go on her account. She really wanted the name card, but after a lot of struggle, she'd only managed to clear 86 floors, far from enough to unlock it. Since I was busy that
Some doo-doo dogwater builds.
day, I ended up logging into her account with almost 4 hours before the event was due to end. Her account is what I'd call an actual casual account. She enjoys the game when she's in the mood for it, but since she's got a lot of other games and other hobbies, she often goes weeks or even months without spending her
Was that a purple artifact? Oh god.
resin. She doesn't bother with the endgame content. She has over 200 fragile resin saved up for a rainy day and no motivation to spend it. She does have a lot of 5 stars, however, and many of them have their signature weapons. They're very skewed towards DPS characters with surprisingly few supports leveled up, and several of those aren't really built all the way. For example, when I saw her Shangling, my brain short-circuited. 2-piece emblem, 3 3-star artifacts, unleveled artifacts. Many characters had builds that I'd considered decent, but
Wait, did she clear on this account? There's no way. There's no way. Yeah, I mean, I've taken a break from Genshin for a pretty long time, and even I can tell this account is. I'd re-roll. I feel like I'd re-roll.
Many others were very much not. That Xiangling, I kept doing double takes. It just did not compute. When I asked, she said they were on her to-do list, which is honestly fair enough. She has a far healthier relationship with Genshin than so many people do. She plays it when it's fun, and when it's not, she takes a break. The point of interest here is that, overall, my free-to-play alt account characters are quite significantly more invested than the ones on here, though the signature weapons often make up a large part of the difference in artifact strength.
True.
After looking through the builds, given how impossible a task it had been on my alt account, I was pretty sure this would not work. But I had almost 4 hours, I would at least give it an honest try.
Hey, this is the thing. She got Mavuika. She's got Mavuika and Salali. Anything is possible, my friend.
The first big difference between this and my alt account was Mavuika.
What did I say? Not pre-watched. Not pre-watched, by the way. Not pre-watched.
As I explained in one of my previous videos, I ended up very disappointed with Mavuika's characterization and playstyle and skipped her banner entirely.
What the fuck? That's 3 copies of Navia's weapon, right? And then one of them's just level 1. Maybe she got lucky. Maybe she got really unlucky.
Playstyle and skipped her banner entirely. My friend, it turns out, did pull for her, but hadn't finished building her. She was level 80, unascended, with a very low 1400 attack stat and an imbalanced 70 to 100 crit ratio plus 4P's Obsidian Codex, meaning it would increase it to 110 to 100 during battle. I decided to first try swapping out her Serpent Spine for a Wolf's Gravestone, shifting her to a more healthy 2200 attack with a 43 to 100 crit ratio. Still a very comfortable 83%.
You're lying to me if this actually clears, right? That looks like a half-built character. So are you gonna tell me that simply owning Mavuika and having her, even with the build being this dog shit, was enough? I do believe that is what she's building up to. The event is so tailored around owning a character like Mavuika that you can just clear it, get the name card, despite the Mavuika having one of the worst builds in gacha gaming.
Crit rate when the set bonus is active. I cooked up some Adeptus Temptation and some Pyro Damage potions and went in to see how I would compare, and instantly discovered just how much this event favors the one character it's designed for. Even though I scuffed the start of the attempt a little, and even though this was my first time using Mavuika after checking out her trial, on my first attempt I got the platinum medal on that first floor. That first floor 19 is comparatively easy to beat because the enemies simply die if you hit them with pyro enough times, but if you remember back to my alt account, which had better builds overall, I couldn't even get close to beating floor 18, so I couldn't even try to make use of the pyro application trick. This really emphasized to me that this event was designed to make Mavuika feel awesome and kind of punish people who skipped her.
So it's like literally pay to win.
That's a weird decision for Hoyo to make, considering that she wasn't even on the banner at the time. For the other floors, I had to tweak a couple.
So they released this event multiple weeks after her banner ended. And so it's like, if you want the name card, go find a time machine or go fuck yourself. Go build a time machine. Or just go fuck yourself. That's crazy.
Couple of the other characters' builds, for example, give Ganyu a Favonius bow so she could have enough ER to function as a burst support, and did a quick attempt at the rest to see how much further I could get with minimal effort. Only 1 platinum medal in the end, but those 86 points were now 95. The timers were way off the target, but it was a start. 3 hours left. Next goal, build Mavuika. Apparently, my friend had already farmed her boss material, so I spent 10 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. She got the platinum level with a level 80 Mavuika. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, the Mavuika was level 80 and was able to get the full clear on one of the sides, especially with that build that was like 50-99 crit rate to crit damage.
Collecting her flowers, crafted some gems, and in no time at all, Mavuika was level 90. I quickly spent 10 condensed resin on the Obsidian artifact domain, crafted her talent materials, which had also been pre-farmed, and fought her weekly boss. I got pretty lucky with the artifact runs, and after barely 10 minutes, she ended up with twice as much crit damage, bringing her to a much healthier 46 to 195 crit ratio, 86 to 195 during battle, and her skill and burst talent levels upgraded to level 8. I also spent another 5 condensed resin in the emblem domain, since anything would have been massive improvement for Xiangling's build. She ended up with basically no crit stats to speak of, but she at least had the 4P set and over 240% ER.
What the fuck even is that?
Which made her a lot more comfortable to play. Another round of attempts and it was almost as frustrating. The DPS was noticeably improved and I got one more platinum, this time on the second tower. However, while there was a big improvement on the other three, it was still far from close. But at least I felt pretty certain that my rotations were not the problem. It was just the case of the builds not providing quite enough damage. I tried more different teams, tried different strategies, which let me focus on different floors in the hopes of skipping the more difficult ones, but once again, nothing I did made any difference. Fortunately, there was one more card to play. My friend had also pulled for Sidlali,
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Well.
but she really hadn't leveled her. She was level 40 with none of her materials farmed and she didn't even have artifacts equipped. But there was still over 200 fragile resin waiting to be used and I had an hour and a half or so until the deadline. To speed up the farming, I enlisted the help of my partner who logged in using my account and we made quick work of Zezi. 20 minutes later and Sidlan.
Wait, did she just say we made quick work of Jeja? Oh, no. Yeah, that's fucked up. Come on. That's not cool. That's not Jeja. Come on. Say her name right, too.
Work of Zezi. 20 minutes later, and Sidlali was level 70, with her skill talent raised to level 5 and her weapon to level 90. She still had no artifacts though, and unfortunately there was only one EM Cinder City artifact on this account. Since EM artifacts are so rare and time was running out, I decided to just go without the set bonus.
Wait, what the fuck was that?
Without the set bonus.
What the fuck? The dev account.
Half built Sidlali in hand, it was time to try once more. After adding her to the team, the difference was ludicrous. I started with the 5th tower, which had been the hardest up until that point. Its buff favors Night Soul Burst, so it seemed likely that Sidlali would make even more of a difference there. I got platinum on my first attempt. The 4th tower was still annoying at first, since the enemies on floor 19 just refused to stay close to one another, but eventually, after a handful of attempts to keep them together, I got past them. On floor 20, a melt reaction on Mavuika's burst broke the 1 million damage mark, and we had our 4th platinum.
So the event genuinely is just pull Silali and Mavuika, or actually just go fuck yourself. And fuck your name card too.
The 3rd tower proved an even bigger problem for much the same reason. The Vishaps in particular were just so irritating and I wasted another 10 minutes trying to get them to stay together before realizing I had a better option. Even without Sidlali, I'd been only a couple of seconds of clearing an extra floor on the 2nd tower, so I decided to give it another try. It took a couple of attempts to clear floor 20 without using Mavuika's burst, but by holding it back to make sure it was available on that extra floor, it was the easiest clear of the lot, taking a mere 8 seconds. 101 floors cleared, mission accomplished. So, I managed it, even though my friend's builds were far from ideal. That's a good thing, right? Personally, I disagree. This is by far the starkest and most blatant example of power creep I've encountered in Genshin, and the entire event ended up feeling like its main goal was to create FOMO in people who skipped Mavuika. I still find it bizarre that so much of the community gets so hyped when the new characters do record damage numbers, but I guess a big number make brain go brr.
Hey, it's what Hoyoverse has been doing. It feels like Hoyoverse's motto towards the latter end of 2024 and into the start of 2025 is like just blatant power creep in every single game and just not really even giving a shit about what the players might think about it. I think it started with Miyabi and like the whole disastrous situation with her completely overshadowing every prior release that ZZZ has had in terms of power creep, just doing way more damage than even like the first limited character. Then you got HSR releasing shit like the Herta, who is, I believe the Herta is currently tier 0 in every game mode. Literally every game mode. It could be the single target one, it could be the multi-target one, it could be the fucking boss one. She's just good in all of the game modes. For now she is. Oh yeah, just wait a week or a month or two, and I'm pretty sure she'll be tier 1 in no time. And like the whole Aglaya situation as well. And now you got Genshin Impact with Mavuika and Silali just straight up being the best support or the best sub DPS and, you know, DPS combo in the game that are just breaking all the damage records, completely throwing everything out of whack. It's just every single game has something going on with it in terms of power creep. And while Genshin still fortunately has like not brought the massive HP inflation that HSR and ZZZ have, or are going to have, frankly, because ZZZ's HP inflation has been going crazy. It's like not become a bigger deal. But I guess now they're putting permanent rewards locked behind power creep, where, hey, if you don't have either the sweatiest, most giga invested builds ever, or if you don't have the newest characters, you might as well just go fuck yourself because you're not going to be able to clear the event. And like I said before, when the name card is what casuals kind of want the most and you're locking it in this way, that seems like a really weird thing to do for the devs. And you could always make the argument that the power creep isn't that bad because the Astrite, or sorry, the Primo Gem rewards are locked behind only completing, you know, like half of the available floors. You could make that argument, but it's also just a matter of, like, again, feeling like you're not able to clear because of something that the devs did and not you. And not you when you're grinding or you're farming your gameplay.
I made a video a long while back talking about the difference between direct and ambient power creep. The main point I made was that I don't actually mind direct power creep, where a character fills the same role as an older one but is just flat out better, as long as they don't also ramp up ambient power creep at the same time. As long as the older character can still clear content, who cares? In this event, the HP inflation was very much in ambient power creep territory, but even worse was how much the structure of the event favored Mavuika. Looking back at the 3 different accounts, once I had built my friend's Mavuika and added the half-built Sitlali to the mix, it was not only easier than my alt account, despite the disparity in the rest of the characters' builds, it was easier than it was on my main account. For most players who want challenging content, they don't want the entire thing to just treat the latest character as a cheat code, while making it near impossible even for dedicated players if they happen to skip those new characters. And fine, if they just do this on a rare occasion in some random event, it's not the end of the world. But if this is a sign of things to come and they start requiring people to pull, then I'm absolutely going to stop bothering with endgame, and at that point I'll just have to see how much my motivation to keep playing holds up.
It's worrying that Genshin, right, has one of its biggest competitors in a long time, Wuthering Waves. And instead of doing things to actively, like, make the game better, instead of doing things to, like, just reward all the players as a whole, they're putting in so much stuff like quality of life locked behind limited banners, and then I guess event rewards also being locked behind limited banners. It feels like right now, the devs have actually sort of just, like, given up on their original vision for how they wanted to monetize the game, and now they're just trying to do quite literally the most FOMO and predatorily, like, driven tactics they could possibly think of. It's actually strange, because I thought that Wuthering Waves was going to, like, be sort of like the movement that would get the devs doing the exact opposite thing. But instead, it's just all of this nice stuff, all of these new features, all of the stuff that you want. If you don't pay, you won't get it. And if that's the new way that they want to monetize, that sucks, but it's working for them. The Sitlali Mavuika banner, which was super predatory, by the way, with 20 pulls for Lanternite locked behind after the release, and then 2 new limited characters releasing at the same time, something they'd never done before, that made them so much money, and it was so profitable, and it did so good for them. And it's just like, wow. It's something that they'd never done before. They only do it once a competitor shows up. What else are they going to do in the future? Now that we're seeing events where if you don't have Sitlali and Mavuika, it's an absolute fucking disaster. How far are these devs going to push the envelope? Because power creep is something that Genshin Impact was kind of actually known for not having a lot of. And that was like one of like the shining lights about the title, and it's been something that I've always praised when it actually comes to Genshin Impact, the fact that they haven't done a massive amount of power creep. But now it's turning out that I guess it's there, and I guess it's in full effect, and it's only legitimately probably going to get worse, knowing the track record that Hoyo has across games like Honkai Impact 3, Honkai Star Rail, ZZZ, and now I guess Genshin Impact. It was a good 4 years for Genshin, but I guess now it's just the devs have lost all creativity and lost all ways to actually, like, market their characters, other than the characters being ludicrously fucking broken.
It would have been marginally more understandable if they had made Mavuika and Sitlali available as trial characters for the event. It would have still been transparent like, see how powerful these characters are? Don't you want to buy them? But I'd imagine most people would have been less annoyed overall. It's still super weird for them to do this just after their banners, and it feels extra manipulative. While we've had events with similarly challenging gameplay in the past, the one detail which makes this one stand out is that name card reward. To be clear, I'm not saying the reward structure was all bad. It's good to provide content which is a legitimate challenge for the most dedicated players. It's good to front load the rewards which people care about the most. It's good to add some kind of reward for people who take it as far as they can so that people have an incentive to push themselves and take their accounts to the next level. It's a combination of different factors which make it an issue. There are often valuable permanent rewards for impermanent events, limited weapons, free characters, name cards, teapot furniture, and so on, but those have always been made accessible to anyone who merely completes the content. There are also rewards that allow high-level players to display their accomplishments. Many are temporary, such as the Abyss and Theater completion stats on their profile, while others are permanent displays of progress, such as the achievement counter or things like achievement name cards. All of those are positive incentives, in my opinion. The reason this event's name card felt problematic is that it was a permanent reward for an impermanent event, which was not available as a reward for just completing it. For me personally, and for many others, a name card is way more valuable than 2.5 wishes worth of primo gems.
And probably for the most hardcore players of them all, they probably don't give a fuck about the name card and they just want the primo gems. And the thing is, like I mentioned before, the priorities for the casuals is to like collect them all and to like have all of like the nice like, you know, the nice like aesthetic stuff that just looks cool, like the name card. While for most hardcore players, they just want to like do crazy good and get high scores in the content. And so it's really like they're not even appealing to the right audience with the design of this event.
I don't mind name cards being locked behind difficult content. The system of unlocking them after completing a set of achievements would be a fantastic way to handle that. The Nutland Local Legend achievements are a great example of this, which I've saved for a rainy day because it's actually a fun challenge with a cool reward. The big difference there is that for people who can't currently reach that level, it's just the goal they can aim for in the long term. Meanwhile, this event was only available for a few short weeks, so for anyone who didn't already have an account with the right characters at the right level of investment before it began, there's practically no way they could get to that reward. The way it was structured, combined with the time restriction, meant that it felt less of a reward for people who beat the content and more vindictive against people who skipped Mavuika. It's blatant FOMO bait and not a good sign of things to come. I also honestly disliked the addition of the leaderboard. This is a much more minor complaint since you could opt out of being included in the stats, but it does play into the same kinds of concerns. I get that they want to provide more ways for players to feel like they're interacting with one another, and even though the appeal of Genshin for many is that it's a single-player game, there's a part of the community who do love to turn it into a competition by comparing their character builds in Akasha, for example.
You know what? This actually does, this looks like maybe the start of some Genshin PvP. Why is it that this event has like way more of like a robust like PvP system than anything that's ever been in the game before? Yeah, it would be pretty anxiety inducing to like open this up, see like, oh man, this is what you need to fucking clear. Damn, this is how dog shit my account is in comparison. It's almost like the devs can't really decide what they want to do with this. It really is kind of like the devs having no idea where their vision is going for the game, where they don't want to put in like permanent endgame content, but they're going to put in temporary endgame content that ends up giving way more anxiety due to its time limit than anything else they've released before, even though like anxiety inducement is the reason why they weren't putting endgame in the first place. That is so strange that they're doing it here. Yeah, how about Wuwa gets their API figured out so that we can have character sharing and publicly viewable builds? I want to flex my Wuwa echoes. Wuwa needs to log in. I think the API would be cool, but the real thing you're flexing here, Fob, isn't your echoes, it's your S6 characters. I heard you couldn't clear this event, bucko. What happened? Maybe you should have wailed a little bit more on Solali and Mavuika. You should have pulled a brand online and C6 the character. I'm sure you would have had no troubles in this. I did clear it, I just didn't get max because my Mavuika and Solali were C0. Oh, that's the reason why? That's the only reason why you weren't able to get the name card is because you didn't. They were only C0. Oh, he got the name card. He just didn't full 25 out of 25. Okay. All right, that's fair. Okay, he got the name card, guys. We can stop making fun of him. I'm just saying, if these Papegas just made this event on the Mavuika banner, at least it would have made at least a little bit of sense. Yeah, it being the Mavuika Salali event when it's been almost a month since their banners is a interesting design decision. Yeah, I said either get a time machine or go fuck yourself. And I guess Fob, go fucking yourself is kind of what you did here. Man, embarrassing. No 125, only 100. Oh, geez. For a man who prides himself on the best character builds in Genshin Impact. Ooh, slacking a little bit.
Hoyo implementing a leaderboard, which brings that competition aspect into the game itself, however, feels like them leaning into FOMO even more. The more they do that, the more they'll be incentivized to lean into power creep, and the less I'll enjoy the game.
They're putting in so many reasons to pull the characters other than the actual design of the characters. Genshin, to me, was a game that focused way more on selling their units and like marketing their units with like how they were like integrated in the story, like the actual like desire that people had to know more about the characters. And now it feels like they're leaning so much further into like the overall strength, raising the damage ceiling, and like matching together team synergies, where it's like, hey, Mavuika with 2 other Natlan characters is a lot better than Mavuika without the Natlan characters. Now it's like you need to pair everybody up, right, with the right taglines. Oh, don't have Night Soul? Oh, maybe you gotta pull the other Night Soul characters. And it's just like, it's happening in every game. They're focusing way more on kit strength and kit synergy rather than just like designing characters that people want to pull. And it's turning into HSR levels of team building, where if you don't match up and pull on every banner in like a 3-month span, the characters don't reach their full potential, or they don't have like the strength that they should. And it's just gotten so predatory, and to see it in every single game, guys, why? Why?
Overall, while this event had some cool ideas built into it, the blatant FOMO bait for the most appealing and visible reward left a very bad taste, even though I was able to unlock it. I just hope Hoyo don't take the wrong message from people's frustration. We do want more challenging content. We do want combat events which shake things up and keep things interesting, and we do want ways for people to celebrate when they've done well.
Hey, just wait until the Skirk banner, the Tartaglia Daddy banner. They're gonna release some cryo shit that's just like, it's gonna be like buff cryo damage by 10 million% if you have like somebody from the Abyss on your team. And it's like, I guarantee she's gonna have some bullshit like this because she's supposed to be a popular character. I'll put money on it. You can timestamp, you can clip this.
Personally, I would be fine with it if, for example, they added some new permanent endgame content which included a different time-limited name card with each patch. The key difference is that then it would be something people could aim towards in the long run. Hoyo are perfectly within their rights to lock permanent rewards behind a temporary event designed to sell specific characters, and the players are perfectly within their rights to find that distasteful and drop the game if it becomes a trend. I just personally hope it doesn't. Until next time.
This was one of the most detailed rundowns of why an event is dog shit that I've ever seen. And the fact that she brought the glue with like the main account, the free-to-play account, and then the friends account, and then kind of just showed how absurdly fucking pay to win this entire thing is, I feel like it gave the whole perspective, right? I can see why this has so many views, because it highlighted to such a shocking degree just how far this game has fallen. And it is just, it's worrisome, right? Because all of the exact same symptoms that we've been seeing in games like HSR and ZZZ, we're 1000% seeing them here. Things like built-in team synergies, having to pull every single limited banner in a row, and the fact that rewards, as casual as a fucking name card, are now basically being locked behind whether or not you pulled 2 limited characters whose banners were at the same time 1 month ago for you to be able to comfortably complete the event. That just feels off. It feels icky. And it's something that Genshin has not been doing before, but has been doing a lot more ever since the end, like since 2024 was starting, or really 2025 was starting. It's shocking to see it. I'm glad that there are more people talking about it, because it isn't something that this game was doing before. And you would have thought the game would have gotten more consumer friendly with the release of Wuwa, but it's only gotten more predatory, which is just weird. Like, the competitor shows up and their solution, their idea of how to fix the game and make it more appealing is to make it more predatory. And that's just kind of like where the game seems to be going right now. I think it's an issue. Let me know what you all think. Peace.